Being developmental. This particular program focuses on the first three mindful leadership disciplines, which are the foundation for growth and development. It's beautifully summed up by a quote from one of our all-time favorite leadership thinkers and writers, Edwin Friedman. Leaders who are willing to make a lifetime commitment to their own continual self-regulated growth can make any leadership theory or technique look brilliant. But what is self-regulated growth? What does that even mean? And how does that work in leadership, in groups, and organizations? Another term for self-regulated growth is deliberately developmental, meaning you have a deliberate set of practices that help you grow as a human being, which can also be applied to whole groups. And by growth, we mean growth in levels of maturity, growth in your ability to overcome fear and blind habit, to overcome short-term urges and avoidances that derail your values, for example. In a nutshell, growth in self-awareness and your ability to understand yourself and master your own mind in real time. That's the self-regulating part. It's not about adding more skills, but improving your ability to apply skills with more wisdom, insight, and balance, to know and align with your noblest aspirations. Let's give you an example. Amit was committed to his value of honesty, but Amit had a habit of avoiding uncomfortable conversations. He was not aware of the impact this habit had on him and his team he led. He couldn't see that avoidance was actually a violation of his value of honesty. He was just blind to it. Disharmony slowly crept into the team as less than ideal behaviors in some team members remained unaddressed. At some point, Amit realized the conflict in the team had become unmanageable, and so he tried a team-building program, which of course did not change anything. Amit needed to see his habit, to see the fear and assumptions driving him, to realize he was violating his own value of honesty. He needed to develop more self-awareness to overcome this fear, to come into integrity and begin to address the issues. A feedback tool may be helpful for Amit, but it's of no value if he cannot interrupt his avoidance habit, deal with the fear, overcome his assumptions, align with his values, and step forward into challenging conversations in a balanced and calm state. This is what growth and self-awareness is all about, and why it's far more important for long-term leadership success than leadership theory, tools, and techniques. Growth mindset or growth-oriented people see themselves as a continual work in progress. They are more interested in learning than protecting their image, more interested in saying, "I made a mistake. What can I learn from this?" than denying their mistakes. They want to understand where, how, and why they are falling short on their values, instead of justifying, ignoring, and denying actions that are not aligned with their values. This can have a profound impact on whole organizations. Harvard adult development experts, Robert Keegan and Lisa Lahey, estimate that people waste 33% of their time and energy managing their image in organizations. A staggering waste of time and energy. And within this image management lies values breaches, where people don't speak up, or fail to admit mistakes, or unfairly blame others, or avoid addressing inefficiencies, all to ensure their image looks good. This is the core reason it's so normal to find the values on the floor being different from the values on the wall in most organizations. This gap between what we experience and what we aspire to in our organizations can only be resolved through a developmental culture, through developmental leaders willing to do the self-awareness work needed to role model the aspirations of the organization more consistently. The principle of a deliberately developmental organization is one where everyone sees and accepts themselves as a work in progress, more concerned with development than their image, and makes a genuine daily effort to live and lead from a deeper sense of purpose or set of values. This unleashes enormous amounts of energy, growth, and trust in teams and organizations. At the end of the day, it's not about who looks the best. It's about learning and growth. As Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella put it, we need to move from a know-it-all attitude to a learn-it-all attitude. And the good news is that the more we grow and mature, the happier we become. Internal conflict and stress in the mind settles, and we become more congruent, connected, and alive. Consider Amit's example from earlier. Amit found himself far less anxious as he began to address issues in the team. He noticed a feeling of well-being as he became more congruent with his precious value of honesty. We realize this all might seem overwhelming and even vague. So let's make it really clear in the context of how we'll help you to master being developmental while you work on your actual leadership. First, we'll cover values in depth so you can reconnect with your deepest aspirations and begin to understand how values themselves serve as the benchmark for a developmental practice, both for your leadership and your team's growth. We'll even help you narrow it down to specific daily leadership behaviors you can practice. Then we'll cover the process of how to develop an accountability and growth mindset that powers all development practices. This is no small thing. Unfortunately, we often unconsciously hijack our own and others' growth through mental habits and avoidances that provide comfort and settle us in the short term. For example, when Amit avoided addressing issues, he justified it in his mind to make himself feel more comfortable. He even believed the main problem was the team, not his leadership. We need to become aware of these anti-growth habits and avoidances while understanding how to navigate the uncomfortable aspect of growth. Again, we'll give you specific accountability and curiosity practices to master this. Lastly, we'll cover how to develop self-regulating self-awareness. Astonishingly, 99% of our clients admit they were never educated on how to manage their own awareness, their mind and their emotional world. In our example, Amit needed to see when he was sliding into avoidance so he could interrupt this habit in real time and address issues immediately, not days later. Here too, we'll give you very specific practices to support your growth in self-regulating awareness. This program will give you core practices that support lifelong development and growth, enabling you to consistently lead in a way that inspires and makes the world a better place. Practices that bring the values on the wall into the everyday values and behaviors we see on the floor.